Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Jason Frausto for TennisUnleashed.net and welcome to part 2 of our match analysis between Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal from the 2020 French Open final. If you want to find out how this match was won, stay tuned because it's coming up next. In our Schwartzman versus Nadal match analysis from Rome, we pointed out that Schwartzman hit behind Nadal as an effective tactic to wrong foot him. The question is, could Nadal do the same thing to Djokovic at the French Open? So here we have the first point between Nadal serving on the near side and Djokovic returning on the far side. Let's see what happens here. Serves a little bit wide. Djokovic here is stretching just a little bit to get this return, right? So we see that right here. He's reaching for it a little bit, a little uncomfortable. Hits the return with some good pace. And what Djokovic tends to do when he's in these wider reaching positions, he tends to frequently sprint back in the other direction and get the ball hit to the open court. But Nadal here, kind of knowing that and sensing that, taking a cue out of the Schwartzman playbook, he decides to go behind Djokovic, right? And we can see as Nadal's contacting, Djokovic is splitting and going this way. So by the time Djokovic lands, he's going to be off balance already. He lands, Djokovic is off balance here in a tough position. Nadal has already got the ball crossing the net on this side. That means Djokovic has to reach, right? So again, he's instantly on defense and he's slicing because Nadal hit behind him. Hits another weak ball here with the slice, and that gives Nadal all sorts of time to step around and hit his favorite shot. And what's his favorite shot? It's that huge forehand, right? From this contact point and the position of his body, my guess is he's going inside out here, and that would again be behind Djokovic because Djokovic is moving this way. You can see him going that direction with his body weight. He's already going over here. So let's see what happens. Hits behind him for the winner. So again, wide serve. Djokovic is a little bit reaching. When he tends to be in these positions, he tends to scramble back to the open court. Nadal hits behind, immediately wrong foots him, uses a simple tactic. Hit behind people that move well. People that move well guess a lot. Steps around, inside out forehand. Djokovic is again guessing here. Hits behind and then finishes. And on both of these shots, right, Nadal didn't even have to hit a small target. Both of the shots here, the first one here is a big target safely in the court. And the second one here is also a big target. All right, let's move on to the next point example here. Nadal returning deep from zone 5. Djokovic serving on the other side here. Body serve. Don't see that often in the men's game. Nadal loops it up, right? Because, all right, Nadal's in a tough position where he's kind of dancing around the ball. Doesn't have any good positioning, so he loops it high to give himself time to get into the court and start the point. He wants to give himself a chance. Djokovic goes pretty high risk, right? Immediately goes for a small target. And again, if you haven't seen videos on this channel, the red area here is the small target area that's 2 or less feet from the single sideline. Anything inside this area is considered a big target, and those are safer shots in the court. Nadal's in a tough position, and what did he do a lot of times when he was in these tough positions? He looped balls high over the net, because as we talked about a little bit earlier, he may have lost a step or two physically as far as his pure movement speed, but he's getting around that by looping balls and giving himself time to get back in the court, okay? So Djokovic doesn't want to let him have that time, so what does Djokovic do? Djokovic steps up into the court, and he wants, big pressure. He wants to hit this ball aggressive. Again, we've got Nadal here in a tough spot, and what I say is, typically, you want to keep your head roughly in line with your hips, like a little more over here when you're striking the ball. Nadal is not doing that. He's hunched over and leaning over, which typically would tell you that's a really bad situation for him. Unfortunately for Djokovic, Nadal does this all the time and he hits this really well. So he looks really uncomfortable and like he's in a horrible position, which would make you think he's going to go cross court, because if you're in a bad spot, you usually want to hit the high percentage shot. Nadal's actually not in a poor position here. He likes to hit his backhand like this from these tough positions. Rifles it behind Djokovic. Look where Djokovic is going, right? As Nadal's making contact, Novak's going this way. He has no clue it's going over here. That's not what Nadal tends to do. boom, rifle shot, and now the point is immediately switched. We go from Djokovic hitting a small target and applying pressure, Djokovic stepping up inside the baseline to get aggressive and take time, to one shot behind him, and suddenly he is now hunched over in a really, really bad spot. He's great from these spots, but let's see what happens with this shot. This time it's a tough one, right? It's short inside zone 1, so that's just feast, meal, dinner for Nadal. Boom, down the line. Loves his down the line forehand. Djokovic is scrambling. Looks like it could be a lob. It is. And how do we know it was a lob that time? We knew it was a lob because of the angle of the racket face. It's a huge giveaway. As he was going to hit the ball, the racket face was wide open, right? So that gives away intent. You can see it happening here. And Nadal goes back, hits the overhead. Djokovic here, to his credit, that's an amazing, amazing guess and stretch. That's incredible athleticism and hands. And he hits that ball deep, which is even more remarkable. Djokovic is freakish on defense as well, right? It's not just Nadal. Nadal scrambles back, and what does Nadal do? Again, I'm in big trouble. Let's hook this up to give ourselves time because Djokovic has hit this crazy shot, and now I need time to get ready for the next one and play some defense. Djokovic wants to get aggressive. He's actually hitting the ball here above shoulder height, which is pretty rare, but he's doing it, and hits this ball with some heavy spin. Nadal goes down the line again, loopy, and Djokovic bails out with the drop shot. And this time, again, it's a poor choice. And the reason I say it's a poor choice is because look at Nadal's position. He's relatively close to the baseline, and he was on the previous point as well. He's not back in zone 5 where you'd want to see him the furthest part back in the court. He's anticipating short, and he's already close to the baseline. This is a bailout by Djokovic. So drop shot here. Nadal's there in plenty of time. He slides into this really comfortably, and then he disguises it so well. Look at Nadal. This is a great thing. Look at Nadal's head and where he's looking. He's looking straight ahead this way. And Djokovic is actually going this way because he's looking at his head. He's looking at what his head's doing. His head's telling him this, and Nadal's doing that on purpose. He's trying to fake him out. And then Nadal goes the other way. And by the time Djokovic realizes it, it's by him. That's remarkable. That's incredible. The ability there to hold it and make him think you're going here, and really, you're going to go over there. All right, so the next thing that we want to look at is we want to look at what I like to call counters. A counter is a situation where you hurt or damage your opponent, and then they're able to turn that back around on you and either neutralize the situation, do damage back to you off your own aggressive shot, or they're able to hit a winner. Nadal had a total of 42 counters in this match. Djokovic had 27. Now, Nadal did have more opportunities to counter, but still, somebody counters you 42 times in a 3-set match, it's going to frustrate you. You're going to press. You're going to go for more than you should because of the pressure that's building in your head mentally about what this guy's doing against your aggressive shots. All right, so let's look at the first point here. We've got Djokovic serving on the near side, Nadal returning on the far side. Nice serve down the tee. Notice Nadal with this really deep zone 5 position to return serve. What does that give him time to do? It simply gives him time to get the return back in and not get aced a lot in the match, right? Especially on this surface. So he's stretched. He's in a tough spot, but he does good with these balls. This particular one, he hits a really short ball, and this should absolutely be lights out for Djokovic with this particular ball. He should finish on this for sure. He's got a really short ball in zone 1. See what happens? Djokovic does what Schwartzman did to Nadal. And what I say about that is go back and watch our Schwartzman versus Nadal videos. Schwartzman was getting Nadal outside the alley, forcing Nadal to hit kind of a neutral or weak ball, and then Schwartzman would go to the open court or go behind him. A lot of times it was just the open court. He'd hit a winner. So Djokovic tries to angle Nadal off, but Nadal knowing, hey, Schwartzman just did this to me a couple weeks ago. I'm not letting you get away with this too. What does he do? He cranks it. Which I'm laughing, but it's because he's finding a solution to the problem and he's changing his strategy, okay? So Djokovic is trying to angle him off the court, and he does, And Nadal knows what's probably going to happen if he angles him off the court, right? It's probably lights out for Nadal. So instead, he cranks the backhand and hits a winner. And it's not even risky in the sense that he cranks that winner, but he hits it. We'll just take a look again. He hits it as a big target. It's well inside, and Djokovic has no chance. It's absolutely incredible. So let's move on to the next point. Okay, so let's look at the second point now. Nadal receiving on the near side, zone 5, deep position. Djokovic serving on the far side. Nadal consistently returned from the back of the court here to give himself time. He loops this backhand up, gives himself some really nice height, and he's trying to do damage with his height because he wants to get the ball deep as well, okay? So he tries to get that ball deep, gets Djokovic on his back foot. Djokovic goes big angle there and gets Nadal into the alley, which is usually a good sign against Nadal, right? Schwartzman used this tactic really well against him in Rome. Nadal creates an angle here back for Djokovic. And now if I'm Djokovic, I'm probably taking this down the line somewhere here, even though that's to Nadal's forehand, because Nadal's having to come pretty far from over here to get that ball, all right? But let's see what he does. Djokovic decides to play a little bit of chess. He hits a huge angle into the small target. So we know that, he's got Nadal in a tough position here. And he's got Nadal in a slightly damaged position. But the problem for Djokovic here is all the possibilities for Nadal here. And now he's opened up this giant angle. He could even go here potentially, because of where he is. So let's see what happens. He's got Nadal in a tough spot. Can Nadal counter? He does big time. Not only does Nadal counter here, okay, from a really tough position, way outside the alley, but he counters and does damage, and that's huge. Now he's got Djokovic getting ready to cough up a short ball here. Slice, there it is. Nadal is charging up, realizing he did damage. Hooks that forehand straight down the line. Djokovic goes to the bailout lob, and Nadal finishes with an over. Let's go back for a second, though. Tough to play cat and mouse with Rafa, for sure. His backhand's improved a lot over the last few years. Djokovic does put him in a tough spot. But again, Nadal's ability from here, who can hit this angle from here? Not very many people. And not just hit it, but damage you from here. It's crazy. Does it, stretches him, approaches, and then he finishes it off. Again, just amazing ability from Nadal to counter from these positions. Okay, so now we're on the final counterpoint here. So we got Nadal again returning from zone 5. That's where he was most of the time. Djokovic on the baseline serving. Big T serve there. Really nice serve. Nadal receiving it from here to give himself time. Tries to hook it, and give it that height here on the return, but hits it short. Djokovic comes up, pounds a backhand. Huge backhand. Takes Nadal off the court again. He's got Nadal damaged from this position, right? It's a tough spot to be in. And Nadal hooks it down the line, and immediately, right? Here's a counter. Boom, counter. You're going to hurt me and damage me with your backhand. I'm going to hook this down the line and counter damage you right away, and I'm going to get you running. So you got Djokovic over here stretched, reaching for this ball. Djokovic has amazing counter skills, so what does he do? He counters his counter. He's like the only two guys on the tour, maybe besides Federer, that can counter a counter easily. That's incredible as well. Look at Djokovic flick this. And now he's got Nadal going from this end of the court all the way to this end of the court. We talked about how Nadal has probably lost a step the last year or so, footwork-wise. A little bit of speed, right, at 34. But what does he do? He slices this to give himself time to recover and try to force Djokovic to hit up. Djokovic does that, and Djokovic hits a small target winner, which is incredible that he could hit that literally outside of the line to hit a winner against Nadal. That's the amount of pressure that Nadal put on Djokovic. And how did he do that? Well, through all of his tactics, but one of the biggest ones was his ability, right, to come from a defensive position here, crank a ball down the line, and counter Djokovic's offense. And then Djokovic felt more pressure to do things with the ball that he wouldn't have to do against somebody else. So Djokovic counters here, and then Nadal plays a little defense. And literally the only way Djokovic ended the point was to hit a winner on the outside of the line. So credit to Nadal here for that French Open win. All right, that wraps it up for our match analysis on how Nadal beat Djokovic in straight sets in the Roland Garros final and won his 13th French Open. If you're interested in more content like this and improving your singles game, Visit us at tennisunleashed.net, where we give away the secret tactics of the pros and go even more in depth on how you can apply those things to your singles game. I'm Jason Frausto for tennisunleashed.net. We'll see you next time.